So one of the other things I always try to get my athletes to do, anybody who's just trying to get healthy, we always talk about lifting lighter. If you go slow and you practice perfect form, you can use a lot lighter weights and still look and feel great and have all those things. If you're the type of person who has to be the strongest guy in the gym or the strongest woman in the gym, cool, knock it out. Like, that's totally awesome. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. That's fantastic. Set your goals and train for them. Train properly, work on, the damage and stuff. Like I have tons of guys and women who are in that boat, and that's fantastic if that's your thing. But if you don't really care about being the strongest person in the room, I don't care at all about that. Drop your weight. You can still look really good. You can still get big. You can still feel awesome. And you're going to feel awesome more if you drop your weight. And here's the deal. Your muscles will grow faster than your ligaments and tendons and your joint will. So what that means is that you can make your muscles strong enough that they'll tear up your ligaments and tendons, and that will destroy your joint. And if you tear your ligaments and tendons and damage your joint, you're going to hurt, possibly forever. So keep that in mind. So if you're like, you know what, feeling good, looking good, and being functional is more important to me than being the strongest guy in the room, cool. Drop your weight. And then increase the amount of time it takes you to lift it. Don't just go like this. Slow down and curl really slowly. Press really slowly. Do your flies, do your squats really slowly. That brings another thing I talk about a lot. The entire range. You need to exercise the entire range. This, squatting down to parallel and then coming back up is, I think, great. Again, if you want to be in a serious lifting competition, because that's the rules of the competition, parallel then up. If you care about your joints, if you care about functionality, if you care about feeling good and not hurting yourself, the entire range needs to be done. So, the whole ass to grass thing, get your butt down as low as you can. And as soon as you get that ready, now you're going to start pushing your knees over your toes, because that's a range of motion your knees and your ankles get into. And the reason that I always like to have people train like this is because you're going to live your life. Things are going to happen. You're going to slip. You're going to trip. You're going to, stumble. You're going to, someone's going to fall off the shelf. You're going to have to try to go and grab it. If you move your body into a position that you never get into, you never train in, it's going to be weak in that range. So if you have 100 degrees of range, just doing this for percentages, if you have 100 degrees of range and you only train 60% of that range, you're going to be weak in 40% of that range. Your body's just not, the neurology is not going to be there, the tone's not going to be there, the joint function is not going to be there. And so you have a very high likelihood of injury if you slide into that 40% of the range you never train. Your body's not used to being in. The other problem we get into is that every exercise position that you get into, so range of motion you get into, you're going to set neurologic tone. Remember, muscles have two things. They have strength and they have tone. Strength is how hard you can pull at any one given time. Tone is how hard you're pulling all the time. We also call that posture. So if you slide out of the range that your body's normally in, you're going to get damaged. But if you train 60% of the range of motion, the tone is going to be set for that specific spot. And so the way your body's going to hold itself is going to be different. And so we're going to have secondary and tertiary problems from that. So if whatever range of motion you can get out of a joint, exercise that entire range of motion. And yes, if you've been training like normal people have in that 60, 70% range of motion, you're going to have to drop your weights because that other 30% isn't as strong as the rest of it. And then it gets into a whole bunch of physics factors and things like that. So drop the weight, exercise the entire range of motion, whatever the joint will do, exercise that entire range, and we're going to be much, 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 much better off. So that's going to be a big one. This will help decrease injuries. The biggest thing that we always try to do is prevention of injury. That's your number one key way of doing it. Decrease your weight, full range of motion, go slow. If you get 15 reps out, full range of motion, you're going slow and you're like, I'm not burning. Great, go up and wait. But that's the easiest way to do it. So keep yourself from getting injured, lighter weights, full range of motion, and go really, really slow.